everybody. Hi. All right, Britt, everyone's there? You've opened the gates. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining the DCFAC Town Hall tonight. We are here to talk about food access initiatives underway in Denver. And we have coalition members of the Denver Community Food Access Coalition here to tell you about what they do. And the purpose of this call, of this town hall tonight, is really just to share with community members what everybody does, what these organizations do, how you can get involved if you're interested in supporting, how you can get involved if you are in need of services, and really what the differences are between the different organizations, as well as how they're pulling together to work on the ongoing challenge opportunities presented around food access. So we're going to go and we're going to hear from every member of the coalition. So you'll get some background, you'll hear where their history, where the organization is based. And then throughout the call, we're going to please enter questions in chat. Brittany from Doug is going to be is going to be raising them if they're urgent, or at the end we can open the floor up for questions. So the folks who are with us tonight from Metro Caring, and we'll go in this order, but I'm just going to let you know who's here. So for Metro Caring, we have Sheena A. Caddy, who's a director of strategy and communications. From Revision, we have Joanna Sintram, executive director. From the Grow House, we have Nathaniel Mckenzie, who's the interim executive director. From Sprout City Farms, we have Tasha Hill, and I'm pretty sure I saw Megan there as well, so welcome. Hungerfree Colorado, I'm not sure if Paula is here, but if she's not, hopefully she'll be joining. Denver Urban Gardens, you have myself, and then Brittany Pigmantel, who's the Equity and Food Access Director. And then from the City of Denver, we have Wendy, last name, sorry. We have Wendy from the City of Denver, sorry. So we're going to start off with some background and some history. Oh, and going back up to the top, we're going to start with Denver Food Rescue with Christine Alford and Kasia Lozano, and from Montbello FreshLo, Donna Garnett. And we're going to kick it off with Donna, who's going to give us some background and history about this coalition and really how it got started. And then turn it over to Tasha, who is the coordinator for the coalition, to talk about where the coalition is going and what the objectives are for this year. And then we'll move in to hearing from everybody. So with that, Donna, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Linda. I didn't hear you say my name, so I probably just blanked for a second. I'm Donna Garnett. I'm the executive director of the Montbello Organizing Committee and project director for the FreshLo project. You'll hear a little bit more about that when we give our personal organizational descriptions. I'm one of the original members of the Denver Community Food Access Coalition. What's really interesting is that we started out, we were a bunch of upstarts way back in the day, and as we've all aged, we continue to be upstarts. So we just called ourselves the Badass Coalition to start out. When it came time to apply for grant monies, we decided maybe that wasn't really the most couth term for ourselves, but some of us who were there from the beginning still kind of refer to ourselves as the badasses. So anyway, that's how we got started. Actually, our first meetings happened toward the end of 2018, and pretty much kind of coincided with the release of the blueprint to end hunger in Colorado. That coupled with the Denver food plan were two really important policy documents, and all of us who were engaged in the preliminary coalition have all been working in the lanes of food access and sustainable food security and food justice for a very long time. You just heard those partners, but just for the sake of repetition for those who just came in, the partners were, and for the most part continue to be, the Grow Haus, Metro Caring, Denver Urban Gardens, Sprout City Farms, Live Well Colorado, now known as Nourish Colorado, Hungerfree Colorado, Denver Department of Public Health and the Environment, Montbello Organizing Committee, Denver Food Rescue, and Revision. And again, all of us were pretty much the EDs, or the second in command of those organizations. And we all said, hey, we have a platform we've never had before. How can we come together and really secure food for the people in the Denver metro area? So we met for many months. And then coincidentally, not really coincidentally, we kind of knew it was coming, but the Colorado Health Foundation announced that there would be some planning grants awarded to communities that wanted to form coalitions to address goal number 2 and 3 of the Blueprint to End Hunger. If you don't know those by heart, those happen to be: all residents can easily and equitably access affordable, healthy, and nutritious food in every neighborhood and community in Colorado. Of course, we adjusted that to say in every Denver neighborhood and community. And then the second purpose in those goals 2 and 3 is that all residents can access food assistance and nutritious food when needed through a diverse system of community-based organizations that is informed by and led by consumers and community stakeholders. So after several months, we were able to put together our proposal for our coalition. And the purpose or the mission collectively was to ensure that residents in neighborhoods and communities across Denver can access affordable, healthy, nutritious food through a variety of mechanisms, including those community-based organizations and government programs, of which all of us were representatives. So long story short, we came up with some great goals and objectives and a timeline. And one of the first things, and a bunch of people on this screen participated, we had intended to have a number of listening sessions. And so we did the first one in my community in Montbello, and really heard, I think we had about 118, Paula, you might remember, like 118, 125 people that day who were at a mobile food pantry. And we were able to do interviews and little small focus groups, and really got some fabulous feedback and data from what, you know, people in our community were thinking, feeling, hoping for, needing in the way of food. And before we could get started going down the rest of all those goals and objectives and timeline, what do you think happened? COVID happened, right? So like everybody else, that P word that I've grown to be sick of, we pivoted in our communities, and we pivoted as a coalition. And I'm one who always just praises the fact that this coalition had been in the formation stages and had worked through really starting to trust each other and recognizing that we could accomplish more on behalf of all of our communities and constituents if we could work together. So I'm really proud of the work that we did as a collective group of folks, even though a lot of those earlier executive directors went off and did jobs somewhere else. These folks that you're looking on here today picked up the gauntlet as though it were just something they were already born into, And I think that we have collectively helped a lot of people through this pandemic. And we got the first year of grant monies for the planning, and we now are into year 2. And Tasha, I think it's what, a 3-year grant? And I'm going to turn things over 2 years. Well, that's just because they haven't decided or know yet that we're going to be 3, 4, and 5 years. But I'm going to turn things over to Tasha, and she can tell you where we are today, because those goals and objectives and timelines definitely morphed. Thanks.
Thanks, Donna. Hi, everyone. My name is Tasha. I am the facilitator for DCFAC or DCFAC. And I'll kind of share with everybody just a little bit of more information of where we are now. Like Donna said, at the onset in March was when, and I think that's the beauty of a coalition like this in Denver, is that not only were we able to mobilize all of these resources and our work really, really quickly, but we were also like there for each other emotionally. And I don't know if we would have all gotten through that time and come out the other end. I mean, we're still going through it as like reasonably sane people. So this coalition is really important because we're providing this network of support for each other. So like Donna was saying, there was a planning grant that we had applied for, which was really just focused on understanding all that we could about the food landscape in Denver. We applied for an implementation grant for 2 years, and we received this one. And for our implementation grant, we're really looking to mobilize a sustainable base of power for food justice in Denver that is driven and rooted in community. So to do this work, we have created kind of like 4 focus areas to center our work around that really all kind of bring together all of these pieces of the food system. So the first one is community organizing. We can't do anything without our community and the people that we serve. No matter if the community is not on our side and not helping us to figure out solutions to the food system, we really can't go anywhere. So that's community organizing. Then we have public education, and this town hall is part of that. We really want to share knowledge with the people of Denver on the reality of the food system in Denver and where the inequities lie. And we also want to share resources on accessing food for communities, whether it's emergency hunger relief, whether it's sustained relief, whether you're looking to grow food and gain those skills. We want to bring together a really diversified group of information for people who need access to food to learn from. So that is public education. And then we also have policy work. We can't forget about policy work. So from what we hear from our community and community organizing, we're right now doing a kind of policy landscape of Denver and seeing where these weak points need to be addressed. So that's policy. We can't do work in the food system without addressing policy. And the last one we have is capacity building. And capacity building is really important because in the nonprofit industry, we're always working at 150% with about 50% of the funds we need, right? So it's really important that as we're doing this work, not only do we have the support for our organizations, but we're starting to build those leadership capacity skills in each of the leaders at the table. So there's an organizational capacity piece to capacity building, but there's also the capacity building of our communities. Part of this in this grant is a technology library. How can we increase access in this virtual world to technology that is going to allow them to participate on the same levels that we are, right? So that's a big piece. And along with that also comes like with community organizing. How can we train up community members to really participate with their own community and really build off the relationships that they already have to start building this base towards food justice. So really our goal is to really mobilize a lot of people so that when we see a piece of policy or we need to take action, that we can put it out to everybody and everybody will be on it like that. That's really our goal, is to get people excited about food justice.
Excellent. Thank you both for that very comprehensive overview of the coalition's work. So with that, we're going to now walk through all of the amazing members of the coalition, and we're going to start with Denver Food Rescue.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kessia Lozano. I am the Program Operations Coordinator at Denver Food Rescue. Denver Food Rescue, as an organization, our mission is to promote health equity with our Denver neighborhoods and our Denver communities. So the way we do that and our model is we rescue produce and fresh food that would otherwise go into just like the landfill from grocery stores, farmers markets, food distributors, and we rescue them typically on bikes and cars with our volunteers, and we drive them over to our no-cost grocery programs. We have a no-cost grocery program in almost every neighborhood in the city. COVID has thwarted some of our strategy and like opening and some of the logistics of having people come and pick up food, but we've moved to more like a drive-up model. So we've been consistent and we've been opening new programs all throughout COVID, which we're really excited about. But yeah, we operate our no-cost grocery programs, getting food to members of our community. It's mostly for produce and fresh food, which is, as we all know, super hard to access in certain neighborhoods just because of so many different systemic factors. But yeah, that's a little bit about what we do and how we operate. My executive director, Christine Alfred, is also here if she wants to hop on in and add anything that I missed. But yeah, we're just super excited to be a part of the coalition and just add our efforts along with all of our other awesome partners to promote health equity and food security throughout all of our different neighborhoods here in Denver.
Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry that my video is off, but my internet is not coming in super clear, and I want to make sure that I'm able to hear everyone and participate and engage. Again, my name is Christine Alfred. I'm the Executive Director of Denver Food Rescue. Thank you, Kessia. That was said so beautifully. I think the only thing that we would like to promote is, everybody can go to denverfoodrescue.org to look at all of the resources that we have available if you are in need of those. Also ways to get involved. As Kessia said, we are a volunteer-driven organization. So if you go to denverfoodrescue.org, you can also click that link and sign up to become a volunteer. We have multiple different capacities that you can volunteer with, and we would love to have you a part of our Denver Food Rescue community. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So now we're going to go back to Donna to tell us more about her organization, Montbello Organizing Committee, Montbello FreshLo. Over to you, Donna.
Great, thank you again, Linda. Montbello Organizing Committee is a relatively young organization. We incorporated as a Colorado nonprofit in 2015. In the time that we did that, we were an all-volunteer organization. We now have about 15 employees and a multi-million-dollar budget. So, things just mushroomed. That's the only way I can say it. But we have a lot of work happening in our community, and a lot of it is focused on food security and food justice. After all, if there's nothing more basic than food, shelter, and being able to take care of your family. So that's really foremost in the work that we do. We work primarily to support community-based organizations. And so we have formed a lot of partnerships. So just to tell you a little bit about the FreshLo initiative, which is our really food platform. We began this initiative in 2017 with a grant from the Kresge Foundation and the Colorado Health Foundation. The whole purpose was to look at food and arts and culture as a platform for addressing health disparities and lifting the economic viability of a community. So we're really fortunate in that this initiative has grown in ways we could have never anticipated because we're a community organizing organization. It was through the efforts of more than 2,500 residents that we dreamt this initiative and have been bringing it to life. There are 4 elements. I'll just quickly hit them. One, we wanted to look at how we get more fresh food in the community. At that time, we were a food desert, no grocery stores within 6-8 miles. That's sort of still true, depending on whether you consider Family Dollar a grocery store. So anyway, we expanded, first of all, the Montbello Urban Farm. That farm produces about 10,000 pounds of fresh food each season, all of which is distributed back to the communities through our partners. As a result of expanding the farm, we brought in a number of other partners. One is our farm school network. We have 9 schools in the community that all have dedicated growing spaces. All of those schools contribute to the overall food distribution in the community. And then we also have 5 community partners that work with Struggle of Love Foundation, Consumption Literacy Project, the Colorado Changemakers Collectiva, MOC, and I just forgot the 5th one, but it'll come back to me. We are fortunate that to support this work, we have a 3-year Healthy Food for Denver Kids grant, which a lot of you on this also have Healthy Food for Denver Kids. So anyway, as part of that network, we also, through a partnership with the coalition, and that was led by Denver Urban Gardens last year, we were able to distribute 350 grow boxes to our neighbors. Most of those were to people who had never gardened before, but COVID entice them to do something different. We also have a cohort of home gardeners who have put in really exceptionally large gardens, like turning their entire front yard into a growing space with chickens and food and composting and all that kind of stuff. So there are 25 of those. And then we've connected all of those gardens through a walkable, 6-mile walkable loop. All of this is part of the FreshLo. But I guess, and let me just also mention that we, as part of our work with our partners, we expanded our the emergency food relief programs. Struggle of Love Foundation runs our collective daily pantry. They serve between 900 and 1,000 people each day, providing healthy food. Our mobile pantry that's in partnership with Food Bank of the Rockies is twice a month, and each time we serve about 1,400 people through that. But the big thing, the big coup d'etat, is our FreshLo hub that has been imagined and dreamed and really put together through a whole bunch of community effort, and that's our FreshLo hub. We will no longer be a food desert. We're raising $54 million to build a grocery anchored cultural hub with retail spaces for local entrepreneurs and 97 units of affordable housing. And we're more than halfway there, I'm happy to say. So we intend to break ground next January of 22. So that's Montbello Organizing Committee. Thank you. Thank you.
Bravo, amazing work. Hey, Donna, do you just mind mentioning how can people get involved?
I am this very moment typing in our contact information in the
Okay.
chat. So that's probably the
Excellent.
best way. All right.
All right, you got it. All right, thanks for sharing. Moving on now to Metro Caring, Sheena.
Thank you, Linda. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Sheena Cotty. My pronouns are she, her. I serve as the Director of Strategy and Communications at Metro Caring. Metro Caring's mission is to work with our community to meet people's immediate need for nutritious food, while also building a movement to address the root causes of hunger. We see our community of more than 75,000 Coloradans as a base from which to build a powerful anti-hunger movement. We all know that Coloradans don't go hungry because of a lack of food. Coloradans go hungry because they don't have enough money to put food on the table. That means that we need to talk about things like affordable housing, the racial wealth gap, a thriving wage, someone who's working full-time, who's unable to pay rent, pay healthcare, pay childcare, utilities, and put food on the table. We need to have a conversation about poverty in this state. When we began our work 47 years ago, it was intended as a short-term safety net for folks who had fallen on hard times. Today, knowing that hunger is a symptom of larger issues, at Metro Caring, we've grown to add programming, including nutrition and health education, gardens and urban agriculture, economic development, and community organizing and activation to help confront the root causes that can lead or contribute to Coloradans not knowing where their next meal will come from. As Metro Caring shifts from a traditional charity model to instead focus on that structural change, we are acting in solidarity with our very diverse community. Again, we recognize that community is a base for powerful movement for change. We take our cues directly from the lived experiences of our community members and bring those resources to the table to be able to help solve those problems hand in hand with our participants. A piece of very important legislation that we are working on right now is the Colorado Necessary Documents Renewal. It's currently Senate Bill 2118 at the Colorado State House. Essentially, this is renewing the Colorado ID project. Every year, $300,000 is set aside in the state budget to be able to cover the cost of procuring identification cards here in the state of Colorado. Anyone who has ever had to replace a driver's license or a state ID understands not only the time and energy that it takes, but the cost that's associated with that. And when it takes an average of $50 for folks to be able to get those identity documents that they need, $50 can be a real barrier to folks. And when an ID is required for so many things here in Colorado, to start a new job, to secure housing, to access healthcare, to access any type of public benefits, an ID is required. So if the state is going to require an ID, we have to make sure that cost is not a barrier to folks who find themselves in the place of having to choose between getting that identification card or putting food on the table. For folks who are looking for more information, you can visit our website, www.metrocaring.org. And I will drop into the chat a action alert. It takes 30 seconds for you to email your state legislators to ask them to support the Colorado Necessary Documents Renewal. Thanks, y'all.
All right. Thanks so much, Sheena. Okay, excellent. So now revision. Over to you, Joanna, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Cinturon. I'm the executive director with Revision. I'm one of those second generation executive directors that Donna talked about. I took over a couple years ago, so I got to inherit this amazing group of mentors, friends, confidants, all of that. So super excited. Revision, we work in Southwest Denver, really focused on the Westwood neighborhood, focusing on food access, but we take a sort of interesting lens in that we really leverage community assets, community voice, community knowledge to create the solutions to some of our most pressing problems. And obviously, we're on the call for food access, and so we work in food access, and what we do is through the use of the community promotora model, that is women from the community who are involved in the community. Our promotoras help families grow their own food in their own backyards, usually backyard, sometimes front yard, because people like to show off their gardens and get competitive with their neighbors. But we, on typical years, last year, not counting for anything, we usually do about 250 home gardens in the neighborhood within Southwest Denver. Last year was an exception. We established them virtually. Thanks again to the to-grow boxes, we were able to drop them off at doorsteps and walk folks through the process. So we did about 150, but we are super excited to ramp back up to 250 gardens this year. We are also part of the Healthy Food for Denver Kids cohort, and so that's a really big part. We're really excited on it couldn't have come at a better time. I did not plan this, but we are launching a new curriculum through Healthy Food for Denver Kids, along with our partners at Denver Children's Advocacy Center, that is working with children in their home gardens. And so each garden visit will be accompanied with an activity sheet that is really centered on social and emotional well-being, a little bit of STEM, a little bit of science, a little bit of math, but really focused on things like mindfulness and how do you use the garden when you're feeling anxious and when you're feeling trapped, and all of those things, along with culturally relevant food, history around, things like corn, which are very important to our community. One thing I forgot is that our community in Westwood is 80% Latino. Our staff is 100% Latino, to really serve that specific community within Westwood. So along with that comes everything. And I love hearing everyone talk, because I love how we've all maybe started in different spots, and then we learn from each other, and then we grow our parts from each other. And so we are also working, one thing that's really important to us is addressing the systems that are causing this, right? Food is our catalyst, because we're Latinos, we love to eat, we love to share food, we love to grow food, but really examining what are the root causes of that. And one thing that we focus on at Revision is really developing community leadership, and that is with our promotoras, really building their personal capacity, as promotoras, but hopefully, in the future as elected officials or people who are running their own businesses or organizations. That's a really important piece for us, because we really feel that transformation needs to come from within the community, and that community voice needs to be elevated to the level of policy and not the other way around. Policy does not look down to us. Our voice is what they need to be listening to. And so our promotora program is really, the heart of what we do. And with that also comes a new-ish sort of initiative around developing community ownership, community wealth, particularly through entrepreneurship and food-based businesses. But we're looking at other options as well. One thing that came out of the pandemic, well, a lot of things came out of the pandemic, but we have a beautiful site called Rise Westwood that has a commissary kitchen, along with a retail space that's occupied by our partners at Cultura Craft Chocolate. It's a Latina-owned bean to bar chocolate shop that I recommend everyone visit. And their owner, her name's Damaris Roncanen, she started the Rise Westwood Collective, which is a collective of Latino-owned businesses that were affected by the pandemic. And so restaurants that were shut down, restaurants that had to completely shut their doors, some that had to, limit their capacity, et cetera. So she pulled together an online platform for those entrepreneurs so that they could benefit from each other, from mutual marketing, from sourcing together. These are small businesses who maybe have a brick and mortar but barely have a web presence, so let alone e-commerce and allowing people to order and pick up. And so she pulled that together, and that piece has really been thriving on campus during this time, I think, for a lot of reasons. I think people are really hungry, obviously, to support, which is great. And so that's one call to action I would say is please visit risewestwoodcollective.com. They have amazing food options. It's a great way to support not only Revision, but a lot of different entrepreneurs in a lot of different spaces. And so with that, last year was entirely focused on COVID response, and we worked together with the coalition to figure out no-cost grocery programs, what that looked like. That's something that we've never done before. And we were able to distribute a little over 600,000 pounds of food last year and 14,000 prepared meals. And this year is really focused on recovery and focusing on holding that space for our community members who are surviving. And we always celebrate the resilience of community, and I don't want to celebrate that anymore. I want to celebrate them thriving. I want to celebrate and see our community really thriving in this world. And I think the recovery around COVID is a great opportunity for our community to really shine. These are folks who have worked through unbelievable circumstances and survived this last year, and I think we're well positioned to really grow. And sorry for all the vegetable puns and everything, I just can't help it sometimes. But that's kind of Revision in a nutshell. So and with that said, we are running a 2-day-a-week food pantry, Tuesdays from 12 to 7 p.m., Wednesdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you know anyone that needs food, send them to our website, revision.coop, and I'll put it in the chat so they can register for an appointment. We are doing it by appointment only to keep it COVID safe, but we are always happy to help anyone in need or direct them to another pantry or other services in the area. So thank you all.
Great, thank you so much. And just a pause before we move on to the to the others. And Joanna, you called it out. It's interesting. Everyone's coming from different angles, and there's just so many creative approaches to this. Unfortunately, seemingly never-ending issue, but just calling out the creativity and in abundance for sure. And I also like the movement from resiliency to thriving. They made that happen. Okay, and Nathan from the Grow House, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nathan Mckenzie. I am the interim executive director at the Grow House. We were founded in 2009 in the Elyria-Swansea neighborhood, and we work, since that time, we've worked very closely with the Gloveville and Elyria-Swansea neighborhoods. Our mission is to cultivate community-driven food justice through food access and education. And we do that in a number of ways that are all community-driven and really informed by the assets and vibrancy of our community. We have multiple food access programs that focus on full cost efforts across the city of Denver, low cost efforts within our community, and then especially in the last year, no cost efforts to support during COVID-19. We've been fortunate to partner with a number of organizations on this call, but specifically Denver Food Rescue is one of our longtime partners and has supported with a no cost grocery program for many, many years prior to COVID in person, and still a really strong partner of ours. We want to make sure that folks have access to affordable food that's culturally relevant, that is what folks are looking for themselves and their families, and provide that choice. And we do that in a sort of social enterprise model that allows folks all across Denver to access a weekly food box program, sort of a subscription model that then allows us to support our community with really high quality food consistently with a lot of choice. We also do a really robust education program that focuses on little kids all the way up to adults. We are gearing up now and very excited for our spring and summer programming, especially after so much disruption in 2020. Our longest running program is a program for high school students called Seed to Seed that really embraces youth leadership within the food system in particular, understanding that youth are really the ones who will drive the change that we want to see in our systems and structures, and that youth hold a lot of power in terms of insight and wisdom that we can tap into more. So we're excited for that program to kick off here in a few months. And then we work with multi-generational programming, so connecting with kids and adults, parents or guardians and their children, to connect around food, to connect around nutrition, growing food, cooking food, and the real power that comes from that. We, similar to Revision, also run and have a Promotora program. Our Promotoras are really core to every aspect of our work, connecting with community, doing community outreach, being present for community, especially in the last year where folks really were looking for connection and for people that they could go to with any range of issues. Similar to the organizations on this call, our work often transcends food. Food becomes the lens through which we can connect with community and support community, and community can support us as well. And we really saw that in the last year. And something that, we've really connected with over our 10-year history, but saw even more so in the last year, and will really continue to strengthen and bring out as we move out of COVID and into recovery, as Joanna said. All of this work happens holistically and is very integrated, because we know that the work around food justice needs to be connected, and that ultimately, as so many have alluded to already, these are systemic challenges that we face that for that reason require a lot of collaboration, a lot of real in-depth insight and looking into the root causes of these challenges that we face. And really grateful to all of the partnerships that we have on this call, and in particular with the coalition that has provided the Grow House with so much support in the last 2 years, and continues to this day. So thank you all for being here, and appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And now Sprout City Farms. We have Meg and Tasha.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. I am also Sprout City Farms Development and Outreach Coordinator. So Sprout City Farms got started in 2010. We were really kind of seeing a gap in the food system. At the time in Denver, a lot of the food was coming from really far away. Communities, there was food apartheid. So there wasn't a lot of food resources in the communities that our founders were working in. And just so you guys know, Meg is a founding farmer. So we got together with a bunch of producers, teachers, food policy advocates, and we started Sprout City Farms, which is really a way that we felt could really feed neighborhoods and kind of connect all of these pieces of the food system. We build educational urban farms that are really meant to engage communities and strengthen neighborhood resiliency and root farmers in the city. We envision a really thriving local food system that is supported by a network of these community farms. Our program ranges from farmer training, our programming ranges from farmer training. So we really want to build up the next generation of farmers or cultivate them. We want to give them all the tools that they need to support food access in their own communities. So we have a lot of different opportunities. If you're interested in becoming a farmer, we actually do have apprenticeship and internship positions open right now. So please go to our website and apply. We also have a really large food access program as well. We grow at least 10,000 pounds of food at each of our farm sites, and at least a third of that produce is dedicated towards our food access programs. Last year, this was actually bumped up to 42%. In response to the pandemic. This includes community supported agriculture shares. So this is just a weekly vegetable share during the growing season. Unfortunately, we're getting out there soon. So stay tuned for the summer months when everything will start growing and be green again. But we offer community supported agriculture shares. So if you utilize SNAP, you can access some of our community supported agriculture shares. We also have sponsored shares and community farm stands. We actually just built a mobile community farm stand, which is able to travel around it. It's on a bike, so it's able to travel to different places and kind of co-locate food access with the resources that our community is already accessing regularly. And at our farm stands, they're all donation based and accept SNAP and double up food bucks. We do have SNAP shares and sponsored shares open. So if you're interested in getting some of our produce for the summer, please go to our website and check out all of our food access programs. We'd love to help you get connected to some fresh food. And then we also do a lot of youth education. One of our farms, Denver Green School Community Farm, is actually one of the first farms on DPS school grounds. Each of our farm sites, we have built 3 so far, and we're in the midst of building our 4th one up in Longmont, which is really exciting. Each of our farms are unique. They serve the community in different ways because we build them in different neighborhoods. So for example, at Denver Green School, it's really heavily education focused because we're on school grounds. And with that, we've seen a lot of evolution with the resources that the school needs. So we've built a meditation spiral that kind of engages all the senses. And over time, there was an obstacle course to get kids outside and play in the farm. So yeah, we focus on the farming piece, and we really believe that a key solution to the injustices that we see in our food system kind of start with farmers, the people who grow our food, and they start with the land. So we do all sustainable no-till farming. And yeah, I'm just trying to rake my mind to see if I missed anything. Yeah, if you're interested, we have volunteer days every Saturday. Those will be starting up pretty soon now once the sun decides to come out and everything be warm again. And we're also building a new farm. So if you're interested in supporting us there, please go to our website. We're in a crowdfunder right now, which is really exciting. And please check out our food access programs if you're interested in accessing some of our food.
Excellent. Thank you, Tasha. Okay, now we're going to move to Hungerfree Colorado. Paula?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to say one thing. I know a lot of resources are being shared, so if people just want to throw them in the chat, I'm happy to save it and then follow up after the call. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks. Thanks, Paula.
Everyone, my name is Paola Bab, pronouns she, her, ella, and I'm the Community Engagement and Child Nutrition Manager at Hungerfree Colorado, where I support a lot of communities to increase access and participation in child nutrition programs. And much of my experience is in convening the voices of those most impacted with lived experience to ensure our work is community informed. I'm originally from Jalisco, Mexico, but have lived in Colorado for most of my life. And Hungerfree Colorado was founded in 2009 from a merger of the Colorado Anti-Hunger Network and the Colorado Food Bank Association, with funding from the Denver Foundation Kaiser Permanente. And we are a statewide anti-hunger advocacy organization. And our mission is to connect people to food resources to meet existing needs and to drive policy, systems, and social change to end hunger. We do this so we can achieve our vision, a vision where every Coloradan has equitable access to the nutritious food needed to thrive and reach their full potential. Even though we are a statewide organization, we're based in South Denver and have about 32 employees. Our values are nutrition, innovation, partnership, community, and equity. We run quarterly surveys to see what hunger looks like in Colorado, and our most recent survey showed that almost 2 in 5 Coloradans are food insecure, meaning that they lack reliable access to nutritious foods, with people of color and households with children facing even higher levels of hunger. More than half of households with children are struggling to have regular access to nutritious foods, and 52% of non-white and Latinx individuals are now struggling to put food on the table, compared to 30% of white Coloradans. Hunger is unnecessary, unjust, and it's solvable. From its founding, Hungerfree Colorado, we've had a strong focus primarily on federal nutrition programs like SNAP and child nutrition, but we also build a lot of strong collaborations in order to achieve systems change through our policy work. Some of the programs that we run is we have a free statewide bilingual food resource hotline that offers immediate assistance with SNAP applications and with locating food pantries, soup kitchens, or nutrition programs, really based on the individual that calls in. We just address their needs by helping to connect them with programs. We also lead many outreach efforts and partner with organizations and hospitals all over Colorado to offer support, resources, and guidance on how to connect folks to food resources. We also do a lot of outreach for child nutrition programs, being the summer meals program, the free reduced lunch program and breakfast program, the child and adult care feeding program, where we really help identify better locations for these programs. And we educate communities to ensure that they know they have a right for these programs. Most recently, we've prioritized outreach and partnerships with Latinx and immigrant communities across the state. Rather than us going into a lot of different communities to lead this work, we've been funding promotoras to help us do this work. And we really hope to make this a long-term effort where it's not solely focused on the outreach piece, but also that advocacy piece. And I know a lot of the groups in this coalition helped us with those efforts. We also do a lot of local, state, and federal advocacy and policy work. We work to really break down barriers to food assistance for every Coloradan. Some of our past work includes legislation for breakfast after the bell, creating Colorado's first SNAP outreach program, shortening the length of the SNAP application. It used to be like 17 pages long, and we definitely reduced that down. I think it's like 9 or 8 now, still really long, but it's shorter. And most recently, we did the Colorado Food Pantry Assistance Grant. And in the future, hopefully next legislation, we hope to run a universal school meals bill. Still working towards that to see if that's what community builds, but that's kind of what's in store. We also have really been creating opportunities where we can learn from our partners and our community about what should we prioritize as an advocacy organization. We have one of these opportunities is through our Colorado Food Pantry Network, where a lot of food pantries come together to focus on improving collaboration, organizational efficiency, and through their collective power, they can take action to promote positive changes within the emergency food system. And this is really where the Food Pantry Assistance Grant came from. We learned that pantries really needed more access to local procured foods because that's what their communities wanted. So that's why we introduced the Food Pantry Assistance Grant bill in Colorado, where it funded pantries to be able to buy locally sourced Colorado Proud food. We also do a lot of administrative advocacy for SNAP and child nutrition programs. So really based through all of our outreach efforts that we're doing through our hotline, we're ensuring that we're telling our state organizations what we're hearing, that our barriers, just based firsthand from the conversations we have from community on barriers of access. We make sure to relay all of that information to the Colorado Department of Education and to the Colorado Department of Human Services, so they know like why people aren't accessing their programs and where is it there's opportunity to change and modify and maybe being a little bit more flexible with these programs so we can provide better access to our families. We also lead the Denver Metro WIC Coalition, where we've learned why folks don't enroll into the WIC program. And again, we advise our state agency on solutions to address why folks aren't enrolling into the WIC program. Our coalition is made up of state and local WIC agencies, grassroots early childhood education organizations, and WIC recipients. We've prioritized within the past year, we've learned that we don't have like a direct community necessarily that we talk through statewide. So we established our community council, where we have 12 members who have lived or living experience with food insecurity. And this council really helps to guide Hungerfree Colorado's priorities and our work. They've really helped change some of our policies and programming that we have. And this is really a space for our members to share their stories, shed light on the reality of hunger, and together we can drive community-based solutions to end hunger. And we also do a lot of capacity building, professional development to ensure we're supporting our council members in the areas where they would like to grow in as leaders. This year, I was actually really excited. On Saturday, we supported, one of our members wanted to do an event in Boulder to educate college students on how student hunger exists, but there's a lot of programs that college students can access. So we really supported our community leader to put on this full-on event, and it was really successful. We've also helped in the creation of a statewide student hunger coalition where all of the universities can come together to share best practices on addressing hunger on campus. We've purchased about 5 different laptops for our community leaders so they can gather stories for advocacy or write grants for their community groups. We've helped a lot of the leaders implement child nutrition programs in their community. And then also our community members have really helped inform and guide our state agencies when it comes to being more community informed. They've helped the Colorado Blueprint to End Hunger how to initiate being more community led and bringing community members to the table. And they've helped some of our other statewide agencies do that as well. We also just really collaborate with a lot of different food access coalitions like this one and others across the state to ensure that we're providing a lot of data or information as needed, or we're collaborating on how we can better some of these federal nutrition programs or provide resources to families. We all really just have different backgrounds, experiences, and level of power and privilege, but we all share a role in changing the food system in Colorado. So that's why Hungerfree Colorado really collaborates with anyone. So we can really change the system through policy and advocacy. You can get involved with us by signing up for our advocacy alerts. You can partner with us for outreach. You can share your story for advocacy through our story form. Or if you want to volunteer, we don't have any volunteer opportunities, but we'll connect you with one of our amazing partner organizations that we work with. Or you can sign up. This week, we're running our Hunger Action Week, where we're connecting folks with their legislators to advocate on hunger priorities. So you can also sign up for that, and I'll drop all those links in the chat.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's a lot. Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for sharing. We're gonna wrap it up with Denver Urban Gardens and tell you a little bit about what we do, and then we're gonna open the floor up for questions. So I'm gonna just say a little bit and then turn it over to Britt, who is gonna go into the meaty bit of the presentation. But as I said, my name is Linda Apolipsius, and I am the five-month-in executive director of Denver Urban Gardens. So I'm thoroughly enjoying this call because I'm learning about in depth all of the amazing work that all the coalition partners are doing. So thank you all for coming and for sharing. So just a little top level about Denver Urban Gardens. The organization's been around for 36 years. And we build community gardens. We're actually we're expanding a bit of our scope and how we talk about what we do, from community gardens to gardening in community. We feel very strongly that growing your own food is the ultimate act of self-determination and empowerment, and something that, we and all these gardening puns people get really excited about. Just again, kind of top level on our programs. Yes, we're about gardens. So we're one of the largest community garden organizations in the country. We have 188 community gardens, and we support those both through the physical infrastructure that we built and the human infrastructure. So yes, we build gardens, we maintain gardens, but something I've learned is that it takes a lot more, than just sort of, growing and planting and watering to make a community garden thrive. So we oversee over 500 garden leaders. We help with mediation, we negotiate land leases, water rights in the gardens, and a whole host of other things. So we do gardens, we do food access, which I'm going to leave to Britt. And then on the education side, we have pretty robust K through 12 programming that obviously most of it was put on hold this year, but looking forward to fall kicking everything off. And we also are grateful for the Healthy Food for Denver's Kids grant to support that work. And then finally, the community education, the adult education. So we have set up a community, online community called community.doug.org, where you can come and do peer-to-peer geeking out about all things gardening. And then we're also going to be running some courses on that online platform, which we're really excited about. That was really kicked off by COVID, but it's something that we needed to do and is going to really expand access going forward, which we're excited about. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to my esteemed colleague, Brittany.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, everybody. My name is Brittany Pigmantel. I use she, hers pronouns, and I am the Equity and Food Access Director for Doug. So part of a lot of the work that we do with community-based gardens is inherently all about food access. So just teaching our community members and building capacity for how to provide them with resources and knowledge to grow their own food. And then our longstanding program that's been in operation for over 20 years is our Grow Garden program. And I know we partner with some of the folks on the call to implement that program. But that program essentially provides seeds, seedlings, and education to individuals, families, seniors, and groups who are looking to grow their own food, whether in a Doug garden or in their backyards, containers, like literally wherever they have space. And we partner with 17 organizations in order to implement it so that folks don't have to come, all the way to the Doug office to participate, and we can kind of meet people where they're at in their own community. So this year we we had about 1,100 participants take part in that program, and we're kind of in the middle of distributing our seeds and our seedlings. So it's really exciting. And I feel like a lot of our coalition partners are distributing food, and we kind of are distributing plants. So that's kind of like more our focus, but definitely looking forward to gearing up and distributing a whole host of plants, like tens of thousands of plant babies. I feel like part of my job and my role is sort of like an orphanage manager, if I just try to really find really good homes for these plants. And so really excited and super grateful to have a lot of the longstanding partnerships that we have with some of the folks on the call and the coalition. I know Grow Haus, really everybody actually last year stepped up. This coalition was major in our To Grow Box effort, which was sort of our response to COVID. And so together, I know Donna spoke about this, Joanna spoke about this, but collectively we were able to distribute 1,000 To Grow Boxes to families in need throughout the region, which is just like a Herculean effort. But it was so cool. We had, Denver Rescue delivering kits on bikes to people. We just had so many different sites kind of just really at the last minute be able to turn into distribution hubs for that effort. And so I think that just speaks to kind of parts of the magic that can happen from this coalition and just like what we're capable of. So Linda spoke a little bit about our Mighty Networks platform, but that's really a place where community can go to get tips, support, troubleshooting for growing food. So again, I dropped the name in the chat, or I think I did. If not, I'll follow up on it now or in a minute. But yeah, community.doug.org is a great place to invite people to just generate conversation, to post job postings if you guys are hiring or need volunteers. It's, we've got over 1,000 members active on that site, so it's a really good place to continue to build out. And yeah, I think that's all for me. Again, I'm just like, I get so energized from being a part of this group. So this is really great to be here with you all. One last thing, I think Wendy was able to speak for DDPHE through the city. So I just want to make space in case before we wrap up to questions if she was.
I think Wendy is just, and Wendy, if you would like to speak up, but I think she said she was here to enjoy.
Okay. Yes, I just came to.
But if you want to speak up, feel free. You're most welcome.
I will say so. Lane was supposed to be on the call and she was unavailable, but I am new to DDPHE. I am a food connector with Food and Communities, and my region is East Colfax. And I will drop in our, we have an opening for the West Colfax Food Connector. So I will try to drop in the link for that. And I'm so sorry, I really just came to look and learn and see, so I wasn't prepared to speak, so forgive me. Next meeting.
No worries, Wendy. And then, yeah, I just realized I forgot a couple of things. I've got notes here, but I never can read my notes when I'm in the moment. But so we also operate Delaney Community Farm out in Aurora, which is a refugee-led farm that we also have a community garden on site, but that's another one of our great partnerships that we have with Project Worthmore. And that farm has been in operation for, I believe, I think we had our 20-year celebration last year. So yeah, over 20 years, which is wild. And then lastly too, I think collectively, we definitely have programming around some medium and long-term food access support for participants and community members to grow their own food. But we also, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, we also encourage a lot of our community gardens to donate and to have donation programs from some of their plots that they have that they grow for. So we have, Fresh Food Connect, who I believe is also on the call, as well as just a slew of local food pantries that we donate about 10% of the food that's grown in our community-based gardens and ends up being about 60,000 pounds of food on average per year through those networks. So that's also just something I wanted to lift up and speak to.
Excellent. All right. So thank you again, everybody, for sharing. Just tremendous work all around. So with that, we're going to open the floor. I don't know if there's questions that have come through on chat, or if anyone wants to just speak up with any questions for the folks on who've spoken.
I haven't seen anything in the chat yet. And yeah, feel free. This is your opportunity. Ask us anything.
Okay. Coalition members, you want to ask each other questions? Okay, and if there's no questions, that's fine. We can all get ourselves back an extra half hour or 20 minutes. But yeah, so if anything comes in, Britt, please let me know. But I just want to thank everybody for coming. For the folks who joined the call, who did not speak. Again, the objective of this was to let you know about all the tremendous efforts happening around town. And hopefully you'll find something, from one of these organizations or all these organizations that really tickled your fancy, that you want to participate and support and get involved to further the efforts. So with that, we can sign off a little early. Does anyone else have anything to say?
I have one more thing to say. I just can't stop. We
keep going.
I'm part of the public education kind of working group. And we're hoping to have our website launched for this event, but just wanted to kind of put a placeholder out. It's denverfoodaccess.org. Building this beautiful site that can kind of house all these resources, because I know it was a lot that there's so much going on. So it's going to be a place that people can go that's really organized. It can have a little bit more of a build out for all of the organizations, a lot of the things that were shared here today. And so sorry that we weren't able to get it, but we want it to be just right. So that'll be a really great resource, and I'll follow up with that when I send out all of the amazing things that were shared in the chat, so that we can have access to that and a place to kind of meet in the future.
Okay, thank you. So we did get a question that just came in. From Ace, what advice, beginning tips can you give to individuals who aspire to join in on the fight to end hunger via starting their own business? Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I would recommend Oh, was someone else gonna go? Or I can go real quick. I would recommend that talk to your neighbors, your community, to see what are the needs in the community, and seeing if there really is like the need for a specific business, or if not, also collaborate with someone. But if it really is something that doesn't currently exist, but you see that there's a big need in the community, like you can definitely reach out to some of the organizations already doing great work to connect you to funds, organizations that can fund that type of work, especially now we're in an area where we should be really listening to the community. So we learn how to address needs. So it's really important to know that before we start any new programming, we ensure that it's community led. So if you have an idea that it's really driven by community, like I would suggest that you can connect with any one of us organizations, and we can support and help you get started, or connect you to organizations that would definitely fund that type of initiative or work.
That's great advice. Who else was, thank you, was speaking, was answering that?
Nope. Paula took it right out of my mouth. I think I was just going to say the same thing. You know, a lot of times we want to think of ourselves as experts in this lane, but we really need to uplift the lived experience that we seek to address, and making sure that they are at the forefront of all of the decision making. And if at any time it's possible for us to utilize our privilege and capacity to hand over that platform and to allow them to be the face and the voice of what is happening for their community. I think that's one thing that sets Denver Food Rescue apart is, you know, we look at ourselves as really the connector of these resources, and really building up those community muscles and empowering them to utilize the resources at maximum capacity around. So again, there's tons of organizations out here already doing the work, and just looking and really diving deep into those relationships and adding depth, so that you're listening and really utilizing the integration of feedback from community to inspire and making sure that you're moving with a purpose and a passion with community at heart.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Oh, please.
Sorry,
Meg.
one more thing that I thought of. I just wanted to let everyone know about I echo what everyone's saying about, you know, just from the ground up with your community. And then there's another way to get plugged into. A number of us on this coalition are members of the Denver Sustainable Food Policy Council. And that's a good way. The meetings are open to the public. I think it's the second Tuesday of the month, but there's the website in the chat. You can go check it out. That's another good way to just kind of hear about a lot of the things that are going on in the food justice world here in Denver, and like the ways that we're trying to address things through policy changes. So I just wanted to put that out there as another way to get plugged in addition to our beautiful website that is about to launch for this coalition. So back to you. Thanks, Linda.
Great. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I think something I hope the folks who are attending are taking away, there's a lot happening. So definitely, you know, check in, you know, to the various coalitions, reach out to the organizations directly, but definitely plug in, because there's a lot going on, which is really encouraging. So with that, thanks again, everybody. Be well, be safe, and have a lovely evening. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.